minute from now. And the next minute under a minute will be starting. And let's see if we can go live on Facebook as well as come on, go live. This is saying you do not have permission. No, I do. Okay, let's do this. Okay, it is 7 o'clock at the dot, the top of the hour. Let's go live on Facebook and then we will kick on with the show. If you're joining us today for the very first time, please comment first time in the chat. And wonderful. Okay, we are on Facebook. Dr. Tiffany, welcome. I'm gonna have you also be one of our co-hosts since you'll be helping us with Tiffany. We'll be starting shortly. There we go. Okay. All right. Welcome. Thank you guys very much for choosing to share your Monday evening with us. And we're going to get on with the show right away. And moderators, if you will help me bring in people into the Zoom as I move on, I'll be grateful. Or co-host, all my co-host. Okay. All right. Thank you guys very, very much for being here. My name is Dr. Dieter, and I'm a board certified internist as well as a board certified pediatrician. And today I'm going to go through the science of why we are so sick. And the answer is simpler than you think. And the reason we are so sick today is because we eat in ways that harm our body's natural biology, and food is supposed to be medicine, but unfortunately, for most of us, instead of food being medicine, food is poison. It is the latter. We eat in ways that affect two key systems in our body. And what are those two key systems? Those two key systems are how the body makes energy and how our gut functions. You can take those two key entities, how the body makes energy, entity one, and how the gut functions. And those are the reasons why we are so sick today, these two things. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about entity one and connect it to why we are so sick today, and talk about entity two and connect it to why we are so sick today. So, let's begin with entity one, how the body makes energy. The body makes energy solely through insulin. How our body makes energy depends on insulin. Now, insulin is a very critical hormone in the body, and it helps. It sits central as at the body making energy. How does it do that? You see, every time we eat, we consume anything, all the calories of what we have eaten are usually converted into glucose. And the job of insulin, after digestion and absorption has taken place, glucose is released into the blood. And the job of insulin is to mobilize that glucose out of the blood into the cell. That's the job of insulin. In the cell, there is a special organelle in the cell called the mitochondria. So insulin, which is a hormone, commands that glucose to get into the mitochondria in the cell. The mitochondria is termed the energy factory of the cell. Some people call it the powerhouse of the cell. In the mitochondria, what happens is that the glucose goes through a complex series of reactions called the electron transport chain, with the result of an energy molecule, the release of an energy molecule called ATP. ATP simply stands for adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate is an energy molecule, is the energy currency of the cell. Now, every cell in the body requires energy to function. The smallest entity of the body is a cell. Cell group up to form tissues, tissues group up to form organs, organ system, and the system forms the whole man. And every single cell in the body requires energy to function. And insulin sits central at procuring the body's energy needs. Now, when a cell doesn't have the energy that it needs to function, the cell malfunctions. The simplest definition of a disease is a group of cells, tissues, organs, or system that has malfunctioned because of the lack of energy. So, having said that, when insulin, which sits central at securing the body's energy needs, when there is a breakdown in insulin securing the body's energy needs, we call that breakdown insulin resistance. It just simply means that insulin can no longer secure the body's energy needs. Insulin resistance. Now, we were created. How do you get that breakdown? Why does the breakdown occur? Because we were created wonderfully and beautifully and perfectly. So what happens that has caused a breakdown? It is simple. We are eating in ways that have caused insulin not has caused insulin not to be able to work the way it was designed to work. You see, what do I mean by that? Currently, right, we are eating about 30 to 35% more calories today than our ancestors did 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. And that has implications because remember, every time we consume calories, glucose is produced and insulin has to be called into action to get that glucose into the cell. So, if we're eating 30 to 35% more calories than our ancestors did hundreds and hundreds of years ago, what that translates to is that insulin is now working 30 to 35% of the time. So, Dr. Tiffany, if you have a job and your employer told you, hey, Dr. Tiffany, on this job, I expect you to work overtime once a year, you're going to be like, psh, that's nothing. I can do that. But if your employer came to you and told you, Dr. Tiffany, you know what? On this job, I expect you to work 35% overtime every day. What's going to happen is you're going to get burnt out, right? And when you get burnt out, you now become an ineffective employee. When you become an ineffective employee, your productivity goes down. So, because we are consuming 30 to 35% of calories, we have put insulin to work. Insulin is doing this job 35% over time and has gotten burnt out. When insulin gets burnt out, insulin becomes an ineffective employee, its productivity goes down. And when insulin's productivity goes down, its job is to secure the body's energy needs, and insulin will no longer be able to secure the body's energy needs. You see, our ancestors, we eat 30 to 35% of calories. Our ancestors did not eat the way we're eating. Just to give you, for you to conceptualize this, in a single can of a soda, just to think about this calorie consumption in modern day society. In a single can of a soda, they say there is more sugar in a single can of a soda than you and I, our ancestors, would have consumed 500 years ago during their entire life. But we are taking, more sugar in a single can. Those are excess calories, putting insulin to what? We are eating 3 meals a day if I want to have a kind assessment of how much we eat. We are eating 3 meals a day and then grazing throughout the day. So really they say the average adult in America is eating about 11 times a day because we're grazing like cows on a Texas ranch. And what that happens. Sorry, guys. We lost connectivity. I don't know what happened. I'm going to. Hey, Shafay, good to see you on here. It's been a long time. Yeah? Okay. I have no clue what happened. No clue. Okay. So I am going to try to back out of this. Okay, all right, we'll get on with that. So we're consuming 30 to 35% more calories, and because of that, our insulin is now working way too much than our ancestors did. And I was saying that our ancestors consumed maybe about 1.5 meals a day, but today we are consuming three full meals, and then grazing throughout the day and causing insulin to work, and insulin has gotten burnt out and now can no longer secure the body's energy needs. That is insulin resistance. And when insulin can no longer secure the body's energy needs, you now develop conditions like this. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, give me 1 second here. We're going to have to back out here. All right. When insulin can no longer secure the body's energy needs and you have insulin resistance, you now develop disease conditions that are the result of insulin resistance. Remember, I defined the disease as a group of cells, tissues, organs, or systems that has malfunctioned because of the lack of energy. So all these disease entities that we have in modern day society, most of them are the result of energy deficiency. Now, this slide is not exhaustive of all the modern day diseases that come as a result of insulin resistance. This is only depictive of the small proportion of illnesses out there. But if you can understand that a cell needs energy to function, and when the cell doesn't have the energy that it needs to function, it malfunctions. Then you could understand how most of these disease entities are coming from insulin resistance because of the lack of energy. So that's the first entity. Let's go back to the second entity, because remember I said that you have two entities that cause the reason why we are sick today. So we've examined in how the body makes energy. Let's examine how the gut functions and how that is one of the reasons why we are sick today. You see, our gut, the health of our gut depends on a healthy population of gut bacteria. You may not know it, but residing in our gut is a population of about 30 to 100 trillion bacteria that live in our gut. 30 to 100. And they have a special name called the microbiome. They live in a 50-50% proportion. 50% of them are what we call bad bacteria, And the other 50% of them are what we call good bacteria. Now, we're supposed to live in what we call a symbiotic relationship with these organisms. Symbiotic means that we do for them, they do for us. We scratch their back, they scratch ours. And as their host, we're supposed to provide for them food and shelter. And in turn, this bacteria is supposed to maintain the function of the gut. The gut has critical metabolic and health functions, and the health of the gut depends on this proportion of the bacteria in the gut. One of the things that I want to highlight, which is a big function of the gut, is that it helps to shape and regulate the immune system. You may not know it, but 70% of the body's immune system resides in the gut. The other 30% of the body's immune system resides in the bone marrow, the lymph nodes, the lymphatics. And these organisms are responsible for training and regulating the immune system, and they do so well when this 50-50% proportion of the bacteria population is maintained. Now, our immune system is supposed to be our defense line. It's supposed to help us against foreign invaders, against threats. It goes to war for you, to protect you. That's what it's designed to do. Now, when the gut is healthy, the immune system does just that. It helps to protect you against any threat. The opposite happens when the gut is not healthy. Instead of the immune system protecting you, going to war for you, your immune system turns on you and begins to attack you. And that's how you develop autoimmune diseases, because the gut is not healthy and trains the immune system to turn on you. When that happens, you begin to develop issues like autoimmune diseases, meaning that your immune system has attacked you. That happens when you have a condition called gut imbalance. Gut imbalance is a situation where you lose the 50-50% proportion of the bacteria flora, and the bad bacteria now outnumber the good bacteria. So normally the bad bacteria is supposed to be 50%, but in this scenario, they increase to 70%. And then the good bacteria that is supposed to be 50%, in this scenario of gut imbalance, they decrease to 30%. And you have to ask yourself why. What causes this imbalance, this loss in the proportion? And the reason for that is the shortage of food. You see, these bacteria that live in the gut need nutrients to survive. Every living organism, it doesn't matter if that living organism is a lion in the jungle or a bacteria in the gut. As long as it's a living entity, it needs nutrients. And the food for the bacteria in the gut is fiber. That's the food for the bacteria in the gut. Now, unfortunately, what's happening in our modern society, our foods are so devoid of fiber. And because our foods are so devoid of fiber, they become so processed. These organisms in our gut are seeing very little fiber. So there is a shortage of food. And when there is a shortage of food, what happens is that survival of the fittest sets in. Anytime there is shortage, there is scramble for who is stronger to get what. If you think about when you watch TV and the UN is delivering aid to any disaster stricken area, whether it's war or what have you, when they drop down the bags of rice and whatever food they're delivering, there is a scramble for people trying, to get what they can get. So when there is a shortage of food, it causes the survival of the fittest, and the bad bacteria are the stronger bacteria. So in the survival of the fittest fight, the bad bacteria win, and they hoard the little fiber that is there. And then after hoarding the little fiber that is there, they say to themselves, we don't got enough food for us, the bad guys and the good guys. So Why don't we go ahead and increase our army so we could keep a monopoly on this little food that is there? And as a result, the increase to 70%, at the expense of the good bacteria. And when that happens, we say you have gut imbalance. Just to give you a perspective of how much fiber we are consuming today. If you're a man, it's recommended that your average intake of fiber should be 38 grams a day. A woman's recommendation is 25 grams a day. In the United States, the NIH estimates that the average man and woman in the United States is consuming a shameful 10 to 12 grams of fiber a day. That's less than 50% of the required dietary intake. You know how much our ancestors consumed in terms of fiber? Estimates put that our ancestors were consuming about 80 to 90 grams of fiber a day. So now, when you have gut imbalance, the functions of the gut, the functions of the gut become compromised. And when they do, you have disease entities like this, autoimmune diseases, where the immune system is now attacking the gut. Hashimoto thyroiditis, an autoimmune disease. Celiac, an autoimmune disease. Multiple sclerosis, an autoimmune disease. Lupus, an autoimmune disease. There is now very strong science that says that there is a strong link between fiber deficiency and colon cancer. A lot of these issues, and again, this slide is not exhaustive of all the disease entities that exist in modern society that as a result of gut imbalance. It's just a simple depiction of this of a flicker of illnesses that come from that. So that is how these two entities, how the body makes energy and how the gut functions, are the main contributing factors to the reasons why we're sick today. Now, in as much as these are the main reason, the two main reasons why we are sick today, there is now strong scientific evidence that these two entities, if you could address and resolve how the body makes energy and bring a restoration of how or balance the gut. Those two entities that resulted in all these disease processes. These two entities cause a decrease in biological energy, cause energy. Okay. There is evidence that if you're able to restore these two entities and restore the energy deficiency, the diseases that came as a result of those get reversed too. And I like putting it this way. Let's say I'm driving a car and the car runs out of gas. That gas is the car's energy source. Okay. That car stops. It stops because of it's run out of its fuel source, not because of intrinsic failure of the engine. Now, if you were to go to a gas station and bought gas and came back to your car on the side of the road and put gas in that car starts again. Why? Because it did not have intrinsic failure of the engine. Its energy source was gone. Now that you restored its energy source, the car roars back to life again. I've run out of gas 2 times in my life as a young adult, embarrassing as it may be, but let me tell you something. Each time when I ran out of gas, right? When I put gas back into that car, never once did I have the apprehension or the thought cross my mind, oh, I hope this car is going to start again. Not at all. The thought did not even cross my mind, because it's so it's so expected. The problem was energy. You run out of gas, you put gas in it, the car starts again. It is that simple but that profound. These disease entities, many of the disease entities that we suffer from today in modern day society, are the result of energy deficiencies coming from these two entities. If you could restore how the body makes energy and balance the gut and reverse the energy deficiencies, those diseases go away. And I want to introduce to you guys a solution that has become my favorite tool as a physician in helping people do just that, called the Feel Great System. And the Feel Great System is what I call a nutraceutical product. As a nutraceutical product is a product made 100% from plants that has huge therapeutic or medicinal benefits. There are no medicines in it. It's 100% made from plants. Now, two of the products, what we're going to do is that this uses the science. We're going to use these two nutraceutical products called the Feel Great System and use the science of intermittent fasting and fiber supplementation to reverse the energy problem, insulin resistance, and reverse the gut imbalance. So, how do we do it? This product called the Unimate is made from a plant native to South America called the yerba mate plant. And what this plant does is that this plant has a special phytonutrient that is going to help us to intermittently fast. Why intermittent fasting? On this nutraceutical product or protocol, we recommend that you adopt a discipline of fasting for 16 hours. And why do I want you to fast? When you are fasting, your body's, remember, insulin got burnt out because insulin worked 35% over time, right? 30 to 35% over time and got burned out. Now, because each time we eat calories, insulin has to be called to action. Now, when you are fasting, what happens is you're not taking in calories, and as a result, glucose production is low. When glucose is low, insulin is not called into action. Now, if insulin got burnt out because insulin had been overworked like a horse 35% of the time and became an ineffective employee, the way insulin recuperates, I go back to you, Dr. Tiffany, after you have gotten burnt out by your job, the way you recuperate from your burnout is to take a rest. And Dr. Tiffany actually, in reality, got burnt out from her previous job and had to take a rest. That's how you recover. You When insulin gets burned out, the way insulin recuperates from his burnout is to rest. And intermittent fasting gives insulin a chance to rest. So we want you to fast for 16 hours because your insulin will be resting. When your insulin rests from its burnout, your insulin recuperates. When it recuperates from its burnout, it can now become an effective employee and its productivity goes back up and is now able to secure the body's energy needs like it's supposed to do. So we will want you to fast for 16 hours, and that is where this product comes in. There is a very special phytonutrient in the product called chlorogenic acid. This product contains special phytonutrient chlorogenic acid. And the job of chlorogenic, one of the properties of chlorogenic acid is that it causes the body to produce this hormone, glucagon-like peptide 1 hormone, which many of you guys are familiar with in the Ozempic, in the Monjaro, Zepbound, and what have you. And when this hormone is produced, what it does is that it goes to the hunger center of your brain and causes you not to be hungry. And when you're not hungry, you can fast. We recommend that we simulate. Our ancestors did not have this problem because our ancestors were not eating 11 times a day. So we want to rest our insulin. So on this protocol, to fast for 16 hours, we recommend that breakfast becomes extinct. You no longer eat breakfast. You drop breakfast. The thing that they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day is baloney. It's not really true. You drop breakfast, and we want you to eat only 2 meals a day to rest your insulin, lunch and dinner. So let's say you have dinner at 7 p.m., you go to bed at 10 p.m., and you wake up at 7 a.m. 7 p to 7 a, you have already been fasting for 12 hours. So what we want to do is we want to help you extend your fast by another 4 hours into 16 hours, because the longer you are fasting, the longer insulin is resting. The longer insulin is resting, the better the chance insulin can recuperate from its burnout and now become an effective employee again. So um, that's why we want you to fast for 16 hours. And the GLP-1 component of that does that. Now, this product comes in a powder form. I have the sachet here. There is a powder in it. And what you do is the bottle comes, when you order the product, it comes with a bottle like this. You fill this bottle to you fill this bottle to the level that says Unimate, and you just empty the powder in it. And I'm gonna demonstrate that. You empty the powder in this, and after emptying the powder in this, all you do is shake. And after shaking, this becomes your breakfast. You're going to sip on this every 10 to 15 minutes. You don't want to drink this all. Each time you take a sip of this, it's gonna cause production of the GLP-1 hormone that is going to make you not hungry and make fasting seamless, because we want this to be able to help you extend your fast by 4 hours. So what I do, I wake up in the morning, I make a bottle of this, and I sip on it for another 4 hours to extend my fast to 16 hours. I sip on it every 10 to 15 minutes. It will rest your insulin. When it rests your insulin, it recuperates from its burnout, and it can become effective in securing the body's energy needs again. Now, that's only one property of that. But chlorogenic acid also has so many advantages on our health. It helps with mental clarity, focus, mood, weight, helps in burning fat, helps in cholesterol numbers, helps in gut health. The chlorogenic acid is also something that the bacteria in our gut like. They help to sustain good gut health. So this product helps in reversing your insulin resistance, the energy problem, and also helps in giving the bacteria, even though it's not fiber, the chlorogenic acid in it, the polyphenol, is one of those phytonutrients that our gut bacteria like. So it keeps the health of the bacteria good. Now, that is how the Unimate helps in reversing energy problem and insulin resistance and securing the health of the gut. The second product here, called Balance, is a product made from 7 fiber rich plants and has been combined to, just like the Unimate, it is also a fiber. And fiber is very important in having your insulin take a rest. Remember, we're going to use the science of intermittent fasting and fiber supplementation. How does fiber help insulin take a rest? It's simple. Fiber decreases your glycemic index. If you and I ate a food that was rich in carbohydrates, fiber decreases the absorption of glucose, of carbohydrates, and so your glucose spike is not going to be high. So, for example, you and I went to an Italian restaurant and we had lasagna. We both ordered a plate of lasagna. That's you, that's me. You eat your plate of lasagna without fiber, your blood sugar is going to do this. And that blood sugar for you may be a blood sugar of 170. For me, I know a thing or two about fiber, and I know that the balanced product is rich in fiber. So I consume the balanced product first, which is rich in fiber, and then I eat the exact same quantity of lasagna that you had. When I eat that exact same quantity, what's going to happen is my blood sugar profile is going to look like is going to look like this. And that blood sugar profile for me that looks like this may be a blood sugar of 80. Now, these are the implications of that. Because you have produced a blood sugar of 170, because you have produced a blood sugar of 170, your pancreas is going to have to produce a commensurate, or is going to have to recruit a commensurate amount of insulin to deal with that blood sugar. So your pancreas is going to employ 20 units of insulin to address that blood sugar of 120. Now, for me, because my blood sugar only went up to 80, my pancreas is going to produce or recruit, employ a lower number of insulin to deal with that blood sugar. Now, let me ask you a question. If insulin is burnt out because insulin worked too much, uh, will you want to employ more insulin to work or less insulin to work? If insulin is burnt out because it has worked too much, the lesser insulin you're employing, the more insulin that is remaining to rest. So when fiber causes you, the lack of fiber causes you to produce 20 units of insulin, you're putting more insulin to work and you're keeping your insulin burnt out. Whereas when the presence of fiber causes you to produce less insulin, you're employing or recruiting less insulin to work, meaning that more insulin can be recuperating from its burnout. That's how fiber helps to be able to reverse the problem of insulin resistance. And the very last thing is that fiber is food, helps to reverse the gut imbalance, because as you saw on here, I mentioned that fiber is food for this bacteria in the gut. So just by this bacteria in the gut being fed with fiber, you now have enough food for the bad bacteria and the good bacteria, and there's no need for infighting or survival of the fetus, and that restores that 50-50 balance. And when these two entities are restored, those disease entities that came as a result of that become restored too. So end by saying that the Feel Great System nutraceutical has become one of my favorite tools in helping people. And if you suffer from any chronic medical condition, chances are they are the result of those two. They are the results of uh, um, those two biological those two biological systems being impaired, how the body makes energy and how the gut functions. And I'll make a bold statement that the Feel Great system can help you reclaim your health again. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to hand it over to our moderator, Dr. Tiffany. Now, spotlight her for her to take it from there. And we have a couple of doctors on the panel tonight. Dr. Esther Ngara is also on the panel. So she's going to help us with answering some questions and sharing some inputs. But I'll hand it over to Dr. Tiffany if you could moderate from here and show us some testimonies of people whose health have been reclaimed.
Yes, 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 of course. And first of all, that was a great explanation. I love that. I love it every time I hear it. I love the love that people are showing you. Thank you, Dr. Dieter. And for those that don't know you, don't know me, I'm Dr. Tiffany. I've been practicing medicine for 20 years and did family medicine. And then I just got tired of writing prescriptions, just like Dr. Dieter said. I didn't want to keep seeing people needing all those medications and not doing better. Who does when you came to medicine to help people? So I ended up getting board certified in lifestyle medicine, going after the root causes of conditions. And that's when I got connected to a friend of ours who showed me these products, that these things are helping people make those lifestyle changes so that I don't have to just rely on medications. And after that, I stopped writing them all together. So let me show you some of these wonderful pictures we have of people who have taken their life back, literally taken their health back. And let's start with our illustrious speaker tonight. Oh, I love his story. Love your story. Love it, love it, love it. Because so many people are like, oh, I mean, I can intermittent fast. I can just eat the healthy foods. Why is this any different? Well, look at Dr. Dieter's story. I mean, one, I like to always point this out too, that a lot of times they think we are just we as doctors that we just run around and we just take care of everybody, but they don't understand that we don't take care of ourselves first a lot of times. We give so much that we put ourselves on the back burner and we end up having health problems because of it. So anyway, 6 years of fasting, that's between picture one and picture two. And so, and he was even running then too, trying to live a healthy lifestyle, right? And yes, looks better, but look at the difference with 2 months on the protocol. So yes, this amplifies those natural lifestyle things we're doing. That's why I started looking at these things. And then I didn't even know Dr. Esther was going to be on the call. One of my other family practitioners who has a lot of experience with women and menopause. But again, look, she in the same dress and looks phenomenal. Now she looked good the first time too. See, it's not about just looking good. This is about getting our health back, right?
Yes,
And
it
then
is.
Keith, right. And then Keith, we always talk about Keith. One, I think last night's update, he's lost 90 pounds, 90 pounds. But not only that, improving his diabetes and his story is just so huge that I'm not even going to touch his story yet because I want to hear him say it. And we're skipping over that. And then acne. Oh my gosh, acne. Some people think, why would acne actually improve? Well, when you decrease the inflammation, you can actually improve acne. And then if you're dealing with the hormonal acne, it's so many women that have these perimenopausal, menopausal symptoms, and it has a lot to do with insulin resistance, and they don't realize it. My hormonal acne got better. And then we have Jonathan Scott here, an NFL player who pretty much lost 50 pounds in 50 days. Yep, you heard me say it. And that was just by using these products. But he also dealt with psoriasis, and psoriasis is clearly linked to insulin resistance. That actually clears up when we start addressing the issue. And yes, yeah, that's my picture too. Another doctor who didn't put herself high on the list. And I was able to use these products, get off of my blood pressure medicine, ended up not needing depression medications, ended up not having hot flashes, ended up getting my waistline back where I wanted to be. Okay. And then I love when people take their pictures to give you an idea of, yeah, this stuff really works. And they take it in stepwise patterns. And first thing you see is shrinkage of fat. You don't see necessarily the scale always jumping quickly. That's one thing everybody's looking for. But these fat cells shrink when that insulin comes down. So do your inches, do your measurements. That's the first thing I tell all my people to do. And I know we have a couple people on the call. So I definitely want to highlight Keith so I can pull up his great picture. Yeah, we always like to give a little preamble before we get Keith on the screen because, whoa, that foot picture is scary. Now, I don't know where Keith is, but before I do Keith, let's
We
see, I
could
don't see
also
Keith.
we could also have Chopper.
Yeah, Chopper. I was going to say that because I saw him there. So, Chopper, yes, I love his story too. I get to hang out with Chopper. In fact, we just flew home today. Hey, Chopper.
Hey,
So glad you're
long
on
time
this
no see.
call. Yes, I know, like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, really, honestly, like a year hours ago.
Right. But yeah, share your story, where you were and where you are now, because it is amazing.
All right, so when I first started the protocol, I was it was in October 5th, like October 15th, and I was right about 289 pounds or so. Just having trouble losing the weight. Um, had a lot of inflammation, arthritis issues, trouble sleeping, dealing with PTSD. I retired from the fire service in 2018. I got medically retired. I got hurt. Um, just like I said, trouble sleeping. I was sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night. Had a restless leg syndrome, TMJ from clenching my teeth when I slept with the PTSD. Since then, I'm down 52 pounds. As of I think I'm 112, 13 days on it now. I'm sleeping 6, 7 hours a night. The TMJ's gone. PTSD is pretty quiet, thank God. It's not running my life anymore. So I'm not as mad as I used to be. um, it's just been an amazing journey, honestly. It's just I got a couple cousins on here, one in Texas, and I got Deander's aunt on here from California, and Sneo, the gentleman with the Bali dance,
Yeah.
Bollywood guy. Yeah, he's on here. So I just want to
Okay.
say hi to them. But it's been great. It's honestly it's been an amazing journey. Um, I'm just excited for the next 90 days just to see where I'm at.
Yes, yes. You're like literally shrinking. We meet every Sunday and it's like, who is this guy? He keeps walking in looking shrinkier and shrinkier every time. So I love it. I love seeing that happen in real people's lives.
It's real
Uh,
stuff. It works really good. As
yes,
long as you're
yes.
consistent, it's going to work for you.
As long as you're consistent. And then what happens is you start telling everybody you know. So, Dieter, what about getting up Jim? I usually show his picture. He's got a great story.
Where is Jim?
Jim Grasser.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Jim?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Jim, I have never heard your story, so I
Oh,
would love to hear your story. Let's do it.
I wasn't expecting this, so I got some background noise, Dr. Tiff.
Yeah.
It's my story. I think I just kind of represent, I think, what the average middle American dude is. I love to sit next to my barbecue pit. I don't drink beer anymore, but I did drink beer for a long time, and I did all the things, and kind of just didn't really. I wasn't concerned with my health. I was worried about other things in my life, and one thing led to another. I had a 12.2% A1C. So, I mean, just through the roof. I had a 459 LDL, which
Wow.
multiple doctors have told me
Wow.
that was the highest number they've ever seen.
Wow.
When you look at the triglycerides and the HDL, I had a 561 triglycerides and a 22 HDL. So it was like a 25.5 ratio. So just awful, awful, awful numbers. And I started doing all the things that you're supposed to do, right? I went on all the medications and started managing because I was told you have to manage your type 2 diabetes. And came across this system with the mutual friend of Dr. Tiff and I and you, Dr. Dieter, Amory, and she introduced it to me. And I have now completely reversed type 2 diabetes. My last A1C was 5.1%. In fact, interesting, February 14th will be 3 years since I took an injection, a GLP-1 injection. I was on Trulicity. February 16th is the day that, so 1 week from today is the day that my endocrinologist told me I could quit taking medications altogether. So in 1 week, it'll be 3 years. In April, they took me off my statin medications, which I just assumed I was taking rosuvastatin for the rest of my life.
mm,
I'm living my best life. This is the best thing.
Wow.
It's the best thing
Wow.
ever. And you know what? A picture is worth 1,000 words. I wear a continuous glucose monitor, and I don't need to wear a CGM because I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
have diabetes, but when you know, you know. And so this is my glucose right now. And mind you, I was a 12.2% A1C. So
Wow.
hmm
Wow. Wow.
if you're
Amazing.
stuck, if anybody's stuck, you don't have to be stuck. Try it.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing story, Jim. The first time I heard your story, I'm glad to hear it. You see,
Yes.
this
Put
is
me on the spot.
yeah, you see, this is the reason why Dr. Tiffany and I and Dr. Eston Gary were doing this because in medical school we were never trained to go after the root cause. In medical school, we never had a tool that we could help our patients restore their health, like reverse their diabetes and cholesterol. We were all trained to prescribe meds, 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 meds. So it's just something as physicians that we find to be so fulfilling now to be able to give people true and lasting health. So thank you
hmm
for sharing that story. And if you're on here, I hope that that story encourages you. The reason why we are sick today, guys, is simple. We're eating in ways that our ancestors never ate. You go back 3, 4, 5, 600 years ago, none of our ancestors had these issues. So, Jim, thank you for sharing that
Thank you
story.
for having me, Dr. Dieter.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, yes.
Thanks,
Love
Dr.
it. I
Tiff.
love his story.
yeah,
I knew we had to say this one because his story is crazy. So love it. Thank you, Jim.
yeah, yeah. Now, we would like to have Dr. Esther weigh in on what her thoughts are about this, what her experience, and equally, I'm sure Dr. Esther, you equally have a story to tell. I want to see if I could highlight you. Um, so, can you tell us your story yourself, as well as what your experience has been since incorporating this product in your practice to help your patients?
Well, thank you, Dr. Data and Dr. Tiffany. It's been amazing to work with you all. And I must say, Dr. Tiffany is the person that got me started on this. I attended a call where she was talking because my friend Kemunto had invited me to the call, and 2 days later, I pretty much was sold. Anyway, that's just over a year ago. And the reason for me it was so easy to jump in was because of the struggles that I was having myself. But more importantly, I was seeing them reflected in my patients also. And I guess if I didn't have an answer, I didn't have an answer for my patients too, because I was struggling. I knew the things, just like Dr. Dieter said, what do we need to do? You know, I knew about intermittent fasting, I knew about working out, and I was doing those things. I mean, I have run half marathons. Still, you know, you lose the weight, and then once you're not training, it all comes back. But more importantly, how you're feeling. You know, I was just not feeling right, feeling very tired. And of course, the perimenopause issues, you know, are also happening. And one of the things, you know, with perimenopause, a lot of things happen. And, you know, I'll say it's actually exactly 3 years ago today that I had to be resuscitated because I had anaphylaxis to an iron infusion. One of the few people that, you know, has anaphylaxis to iron. The reason that happened was because I was so anemic. The only way to get my iron up was to give me an infusion. Why was I anemic? Because of perimenopause and loss of blood, which are all things to date I do not have. But anyway, just prior to starting this protocol, you know, having learned all the things that were going on, I decided to do a fasting insulin plus also other labs. Never had an elevated A1C ever, but I know there's diabetes in my family. My cholesterol was beginning to be a bit funky. Every once in a while, I'd be told my blood pressure is high, then other times it's normal. And so you're thinking, okay, I'm cruising along, okay. But then I did my fasting insulin and it was 52.5.
That is wow. Let's stop here. Let's give some people context. A fasting insulin, a normal fasting insulin, the optimal level of a normal fasting insulin should be 1 to 3. Okay. Optimal. Less than 5 is okay. Optimal should be 1 to 3. And Dr. Esther, you said you had an insulin, a fasting insulin of what?
52.5.
That is bunkers. Bunkers.
It was 52.5, but I had a perfect A1C.
Yeah.
If anything,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
A1C, considering I was still a little bit anemic at that time, was even lower than the number that it showed. And it showed 5.2. So I knew my A1C was even lower than that because I
Yeah.
was a bit
Yeah.
anemic. But fasting insulin of 52.5. And of course, I had all the other signs, the visceral fat, this dark, almost like a dark mask over my face, fatigue. That was just one of the big ones. Very poor sleep and very irritable, you know, a mood that your kids know mama is in the house, sometimes not because everything's going right, but because you're always very irritable. But anyway, fast forward, I started on the protocol, and 3 months in, my A1C, not my A1C, that wasn't a problem. My fasting insulin was down to, it almost felt like someone had just flipped it because it was now 2.5.
Wow. Which is within optimal range now.
Within the optimal range. And then, but even in that time, I had so much energy, that fatigue was gone. And my skin was clearing because that's the first thing that a patient ever noticed. They told me, what are you doing to your skin? And then within a week, someone else said, what are you doing? Are you on one of the skinny shots? Because they said you've lost a little weight around your middle. And it just got better. You know, that picture that you saw that was 5 months in, now a year in, I, you know, look definitely different. You know, still have lost some more weight, but it's all fat weight. You know, you don't lose muscle. So I do have the muscle. But better yet was because you hear my patients, I work in a direct primary care kind of practice. So my patients get to interact more with me. We have more time with them. And, you know, part of talking to them about not just medication, always offering them a tool to help them really with the lifestyle change, because we talk about lifestyle change and then we say, because that's not working here, let's give you some medication. But we know people are trying, because I was there. Dr. Dita was there. Dr. Tiffany was there. We're trying to do those lifestyle changes that we talk about. But we all need a tool to help us, because life stacks the deck against us. Whether it's our busy lives, whether it's the food that we are exposed to, what is readily available. So the deck is stacked against us. And finding a tool that makes that easier, finding a tool that makes it easy to fast longer, to skip breakfast, to take away the cravings. Because much as I knew I need to skip breakfast, there are times I would be so hungry and you just eat the first thing that you come across. And there's no time there's ever carrots or celery sticks anywhere. No, it's always stuff that is, not right to eat. And so you break the cycle and you keep going back to, to zero and start again. Anyway, so I have shared this with my patients and I have seen improvement. It's the first time in the over 20 years I've been practicing medicine where I actually have conversations about taking people off medications, which has never happened in all those other years, other than antibiotics that you come to an end of. Chronic medications, we just knew we start one and then we give you another one and then we give you another one. And before long, you have a bag of medications. Yeah. So to have these conversations now about you don't have to be on this forever. There is a chance, we can take you off, or here, you don't need this anymore. That has been the most exciting part of my last year. And I am looking forward to it being more of the norm rather than the exception.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Esther. Dr. Tiffany,
yes.
I mean, I love it. You're the boss of this section.
I'm the boss. Oh, we're in trouble now. No, I'm not just playing. But I love what Dr. Esther just said. It's the truth. It's the truth. And I was looking at the comments. That's what had me a little just taken away. And we are answering them. There was somebody had their hand up earlier. I wonder if she put her question in here.
Yeah.
If their hand is still up. But yeah, one of those questions we're saying, is it okay to take the products with metformin and Trulicity? And 100% it is. And just like Dr. Dieter was saying, what I'll also tell people to do is monitor your sugars and stay in good connection with your provider. Because when it's time to taper off, the person who connects you to these products, they aren't the ones helping you do that. Your provider is. And so, and we want to keep them involved anyway, because we need them to get their eyes opened like us. And that's only going to happen with you all going back to them. So
yeah,
I was trying to see if we had any new questions in there.
And while you're looking, I will say there is no medication out there that cures diabetes. There's no medication out there that cures high blood pressure. There is no medication out there that cures sleep apnea or what have you. All it does is manage numbers, manage. If you were, I believe that every reasonable person, these things are modern day diseases, are all reversible, are all curable by dealing with the root cause. And I do believe that every reasonable person, if you were given a choice, hey, you have high blood pressure, take this medicine for the rest of your life just to control the number, or address the root cause and no longer have high blood pressure for the rest of your life. I do believe that every reasonable person, if they are aware of that information, will choose addressing the root cause so as to reverse and cure their blood pressure. And that is what we doctors are taking upon ourselves to do, because we realize that we were cheated by the medical education that we were given. It did not give us the tools that we wanted, aspiring, coming into this profession to touch and heal people.
Yes. Somebody else had in here, can you stick to the same starting time every day? So, and Dr. Dieter answered this. You want to keep your 16 hours, but you can be flexible. In fact, it's good for us to be metabolically flexible, meaning if it's going to be a couple hours later when you start to eat, no biggie, or a couple hours earlier, just keep your eating window the same time. So being metabolically flexible keeps us in that fat burning place. So I hope that answers that question clearly.
All right, we got 1 more minute to wrap up, and we have to jump off in a minute.
Yes, yes. Okay, I'm not seeing much else in here on here. We have
Okay,
some first timers, so that's great.
great.
Oh,
Wonderful.
there's a COVID question.
Okay, what's a COVID question? I don't see it. Okay, I see it now.
Okay.
Um, will this help post-COVID lung fibrosis? A good chance it will. Very good chance it will. We have some people who had long COVID symptoms, and it depends on the degree of fibrosis, like the severity equally. Fibrosis, long COVID fibrosis symptoms are driven by inflammation. Inflammation comes from the gut. This brings down your inflammatory levels. Insulin resistance and fiber supplementation. Insulin resistance causes inflammation. Imbalance of the gut causes inflammation. Lung fibrosis is a chronic inflammatory state. So this can bring down that inflammation that is driving the long COVID symptoms. So yes, there's a good chance that it will. We actually have several people who had long COVID symptoms and are doing a lot better on this. So we want to be respectful of time, and we're going to end. We're going to end here now. Dr. Tiffany, I want to thank you very much for being on today and moderating and sharing those testimonies. Dr. Esther, the same thing. I want to thank you. Chopper and Jim, who shared your testimonies, and to those of you who shared your testimonies equally on the chat, I want to thank you. And we want to say that this should be hope to you that you could reclaim your health again. You do not need to keep wallowing in your sufferings, your illness. There is hope, there is help for you. You could take back control and begin to live your life and thrive, just like you've had many of the speakers on here today do. Now, if you are on here today for the first time and you're wondering, wow, this is some information I would like to take advantage of, and I want to get started on these products immediately, somebody invited you to this call tonight. When you get off this call, get with them. They can give you a link on how to purchase and start taking these products. And the other thing is, we as doctors, and not just doctors, many of us on this call partner with the health and wellness company that helps to make this product available. And so we are always looking for new people to partner with us to take this message of hope and health to as many people as possible. So if you listen to this today and there is something in your heart that it resonates with, and you will love to partner with us, reach out to the person who invited you to say, hey, I would love to partner with you to become part of this health mission. We would love for you to join us. And then lastly, we do this call every Sunday and Monday at the same time with the same link. If you're on here today for the first time and you said, man, I really wish, Uncle Philip was here to have heard this. This could really help him with his problems. Invite Uncle Philip next Sunday. Whoever is your loved one or friend that you wish could have been on this call, use the same invitation link that you used tonight to invite them. Thank you guys and good night. And if you want a recording of this, get with whoever invited you, will make a recording available. Thank you. Thanks again, Dr. Tiffany. Thanks again,
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you.
Esther, and everybody else who contributed. Good night.
Good night.